Now, with the release of The Wolfman out this weekend, it's an opportunity for us to sort of look back at Universal Pictures' classic monsters like Dracula, The Mummy, The Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster. And joining me in studio is Ross McDonough from rossvross.com. And it's always at this point, before even Ross has a chance to say hello, that we get him to plug the website.
Well, hello, Gordon. I haven't seen you in a while. Yes, I've been actually quite busy on the website, rossvross.com, where myself and fellow journalistic Ross, that's McGuinness, we just take two films, basically, that are related and battle it out. But as I said, for the past month, we've been really busy doing a lot of Oscar stuff leading up to the big day, so you should check that out.
Good stuff. Actually, just before we get in and start talking about the Universal Monsters, your pick for who's going to walk away with Best Picture?
Well, I said, the minute I walked in to see Up last year, I said that was going to get a Best Picture nomination, and I would absolutely love to see it walk away with it. Mm-hmm. Now, we've done a four-way battle on the four we think are the forerunners. We've picked Avatar, The Hurt Locker, Up in the Air, and Inglourious Basterds, and I'm back in Avatar. I think I would love to see Up take it, but I just think the Avatar emotion is it's too strong. I don't think anyone's going to stop it.
Perfect. I'd actually agree with you as well, Ross. Now, with The Wolfman out this weekend, we may see, if this does business at the box office, we may see Universal sort of dipping into their back catalogue and sort of bringing back other classic monsters. And some of the actors that play them, they'll always be synonymous with these monsters. They could just never shake them. Like, say, for example, Bela Lugosi will always be known as sort of the original Dracula.
Yeah, and then, of course, you've Lon Chaney, which is the original Wolfman, which is the film Del Toro's in at the moment. Going back to the 1930s, I suppose, which was the start of the Universal monster era. They were huge back then. You could go to the cinema without seeing one of these films. It was Dracula and Dracula's bride and Frankenstein's brother and the Mummy's life partner. They went on and on and on, and they were big money spinners, obviously. But since then, we haven't really seen a good remake of a monster film, in my opinion, anyway.
That's very true. I know Universal tried to bring them back. We were only talking about this earlier on in the show, back in 2004 with Stephen Sommers' Van Helsing, and it was disastrous consequences. But with Joe Johnston's film, you can definitely see on the screen that's very lush, it's beautifully shot, and it really kind of tips its hat to the way these films were made. But the actors that play them, people like Boris Karloff, synonymous really with Frankenstein's monster. You only have to sort of you only have to imagine him in the full get-up. That's still, that look he had for the monster still holds up today and will hold up for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, it looks, I mean, it's a proven formula. Back then it worked, and I believe even they were trying to, the new film, they wanted Del Toro to be a two-legged werewolf, and apparently audiences didn't like it, so they made it four-legged, which I think is, I think that's a bit blasphemous. I think a little bit. I'd like to see them stick to the original formula, to be honest. I mean, Karloff, he started off life as he was a manual labourer. He had a lot of hard work, and it was this role as the Frankenstein's monster which really boosted his career. I think I was on a website and I was reading he was in 162 films, and he was only 80. He was 81 when he died, which means he made 2 films every year of his life.
My God.
Which is more than I've ever done, Gordon, I can show you.
Jesus, he was a busy man. And Bela Lugosi as well. People may have seen Tim Burton's Ed Wood, the biopic on considered to be one of the worst filmmakers of all time. And in that movie, Ed Wood had a very close relationship with Bela Lugosi, who, as I mentioned, was he'll always be associated with Dracula. But toward the end of his life, Bela Lugosi, he became a drug addict.
Yeah, Lugosi's the real definition of lows to highs actor. He, as you say, he was there's been lots, I suppose, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and there's been a lot of good Draculas, but Bela Lugosi is the one everybody first thinks of. Mm-hmm. And when he was doing all them Dracula films, he was huge. But towards the end of his life, he was, I think he was kind of attached to Ed Wood. He couldn't really get away from him, and Ed Wood, as you say, the worst director ever, and he just kind of exploited him, and it was just this kind of nail in his career coffin at the end of it. And of course, he became a drug addict at the end of his life, and it was sad story, really.
It was a real sad end to an actor who, again, will always be known for such classic movies as Dracula. Now, Lon Chaney Jr., his father was, again, another very successful actor, Phantom of the Opera, but they were both known for their incredible array of the way of makeup and the way they would transform themselves into these creatures.
That's right. Lon Sr., one of the most famous names ever to grace Hollywood. He, the man of 1,000 faces, he was known as. He's never been as good a makeup specialist as Lon Sr. And of course, being experienced in Hollywood, he didn't want his kid to get into it. So Lon Jr. actually had a long way. He tried to keep him away from Hollywood for the longest time. But then when Lon finally got in, and he became the Wolfman, and as I say, he's the one we always think of when we say the Wolfman.
That's very true. Again, it's such a very, very striking image. And just before we go, Ross, if the Wolfman is a success, who do you see Universal bringing back as the next monster?
Oh God, I have a soft spot for the Mummy. I think of all the original monsters, the Mummy's my favourite. I don't know, I don't know if it's going to take off though. To be honest, I mean, I think monster films, they've just taken a different spin now. I mean, you're looking at the most recent version, you could probably say, is Twilight, and I mean, they're just, the monsters are kind of prancing around in the valley, smooching and holding hands. It's monster films, they're just not as much fun anymore.
It's almost like teen angst.
Exactly. Well, I'd like to see it get back to the proper monsters eating people, and that's all you're going to get.
If they do ever decide to redo The Mummy, I just do not hope that Brendan Fraser is sick that day and Stephen Sommers is bloody busy, because that was...
Well, I wouldn't even consider that a remake. When you say a remake, that's not even on my radar. That was rubbish.
Ross McDonagh from rossvross.com. Do check out their website. You can see their details on who they think is going to walk away with this year's Oscars and all the other fantastic features, which you can check out on rossvross.com. But for now, though, Ross McDonagh, thanks a million.
Cheers, Gordon.